In this video, I'm going to talk about one of the most important aspects of your health. In fact, it's something that affects nearly every other bodily system, both mental and physical. It's also one of the most widely reported reasons why people consume medical cannabis in the United States. And this is despite the fact that it does not authorize the use of medical cannabis in any state-level medical cannabis program in and of itself. Of course, I'm talking about sleep. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how cannabis can improve your sleep quality. Welcome back to the planet's premier medical cannabis education channel, unabashedly brought to you by the University of New Mexico's Medical Cannabis Research Fund. Did you know that nearly 50% of the adult population in the United States experiences sleeping disturbances? So it's not just you and me. In fact, people often report high rates of dissatisfaction with currently available and conventional sleep aid medications, both in terms of their lack of effectiveness as well as the many side effects that they often accompany. Prescription sleep aids, including antidepressants, benzodiazepines, GABA medications, and antipsychotics, are associated with significant negative side effects and potential risks of dangerous drug interactions. In contrast, over-the-counter medications, including antihistamines, melatonin, and valerian, while generally less dangerous than their prescription counterparts, they also tend to be less effective in general, and they too can carry negative side effects, including headaches, agitation, and confusion, and often include residual effects, such as difficulty concentrating and memory impairments that could lead to secondary problem behaviors, for example, in how you're able to perform the following day. Of course, many people also use alcohol to try to get to sleep, and we could talk about all the many ills of alcohol consumption in our society, and we will, but we'll save those for other videos. But when it comes to cannabis, unfortunately, this is just another example of where our government has entirely failed us in providing objective information on how common and commercially available cannabis-based products ultimately affect our sleep quality. Now, there has been a number of studies conducted, unfortunately, using synthetic analogs oftentimes or extracts, so not really the types of products that the majority of our citizens are actually experimenting with. But what these studies do show is that these products tend to reduce the latency to which time individuals fall asleep, so it helps you get to sleep a little bit quicker, and it could also reduce the agitation that can sometimes occur during REM stages of sleep. Of course, this general lack of information on how the most popular and widely used types of products actually affect sleep quality didn't sit too well with researchers at the Medical Cannabis Research Fund. So we decided to conduct the largest scale study of the real-time effects of medical cannabis use on symptom intensity levels having to do with insomnia. We partnered with our friends at the Relief app, and by doing so, we were able to capture how insomnia intensity levels are ultimately affected by cannabis consumption by measuring these intensity levels prior to and following consumption. So essentially able to measure changes in real time, as well as the vast array of potential negative side effects and all different types of side effects that can accompany cannabis use. What we found is that on average, people reported an insomnia-related symptom intensity reduction of roughly 4.5 points on a 10-point scale. Now obviously, when translated into application, this is quite positive news for many people. Another interesting aspect of this study is that we also found that CBD seems to be a primary statistical predictor of insomnia-related symptom intensity reductions. Now, this is in stark contrast to many of our other findings working with other conditions that tend to highlight THC as a primary predictor of symptom intensity reductions. So, for example, with regard to conditions related to pain, anxiety, and depression, THC seems to be more predictive of therapeutic potential. But in this case, CBD seems to be very effective at improving sleep quality. Now, I can tell you in my work with other types of patients, so for example, in my studies measuring post-traumatic stress disorder among veterans, that patients oftentimes report a reduction in the amount of agitation and the sheer number of nightmares that they experience at night which brings up another really important point, in that in addition to any potential properties that cannabis has on sleep quality directly, that it appears to improve the majority of users' sleep quality indirectly. That is, by alleviating or relieving the types of symptoms that oftentimes impair sleep quality. So for conditions that have to do with pain or agitation, again, cannabis appears to be particularly effective, and by relieving those types of sensations, those aversive sensations, cannabis ultimately appears to improve sleep quality for the majority of users. So what can we learn from this information? Well, for one, medical cannabis appears to be effective for improving sleep quality for the majority of users. Second, CBD appears to be particularly important as a therapeutic player in alleviating symptoms related to insomnia. Now, our other work has also shown that THC is particularly effective at alleviating other types of symptoms that can impair sleep quality. So, for example, pain and anxiety. So, both phytocannabinoids are probably important for improving sleep quality, but just through different mechanisms. Now, if you're one of the tens of millions of people that are trying to improve their sleep quality and really struggling with whether or not to experiment with medical cannabis for that purpose, it might be something you want to consider. As always, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, please consider becoming a donor to the Medical Cannabis Research Fund or a patron for this channel, where we are bringing you a wealth of information by a whole host of real-life medical cannabis researchers that are fighting every single day to obtain the type of information that you could use to improve your quality of life, that you could use to make sound medical decisions for yourself and for your family. I do believe that together, we are changing the world.